There is a tremendous hatred, and we have to be very vigilant. We have to be very careful, and we can't allow people coming into this country who have this hatred of the United States.
I guess the question is...
And of people that are not Muslim.
People are asking the question, do we think that Islam is at war with the West? I don't think Islam is at war with the West. I think Islam is at war with the globe, with the world, with God, and within themselves. We have moved to the 21st century. They are still stuck in the 7th century. And we cannot and will not allow them to drag us back into the death cult and the darkness of the 7th century.
Do you think Islam is at war with the West?
I think Islam hates us. There's something there that there's a tremendous hatred there. There's a tremendous hatred. We have to get to the bottom of it. There is an unbelievable hatred of us.
In Islam itself?
You're going to have to figure that out, okay? You'll get another Pulitzer, right? But you're going to have to figure that out. But there is a tremendous hatred, and we have to be very vigilant. We have to be very careful, and we can't allow people coming into this country who have this hatred of the United States.
I guess the question is...
And of people that are not Muslim.
I guess the question is there a war between the West and radical Islam, or is there a war between the West and Islam itself?
It's radical, but it's very hard to define. It's very hard to separate because you don't know who's who. Okay, are they a problem? You tell me. And I say, I don't see the people, and I use it often, that knocked down the World Trade Center going back to Sweden, okay? So he said Muslims are a problem. That was part of what he said. Well, I mean, can you make the case that it's been tough? And by the way, most Muslims, I know many, are great people, just so you put it on the record.
So let's say, do you think Muslims are a problem?
Well, I think a certain segment are certainly a problem, and unless you want to be so politically correct where you want me to say, oh, absolutely not. I mean, you have ISIS, you have the migration, you have all of this stuff, you have... You know, a lot of people think you're going to end up with World War III over the Middle East. I've heard that for 25 years. Mm-hmm. There's something going on when you see beheadings. I mean, beheadings, we haven't seen that since medieval times, beheadings. You see dunkings, they call them dunkings, drownings, where they put people in a cage, dump them in the ocean. There's something going on. Yeah. So when he said Muslims are a problem, am I supposed to say, oh, look, again, you know, you probably won't put this part. I have great friendships with many people who are Muslim, living in this building, okay, living here. But I have great friendships. They're phenomenal people. And most of them are like that.
Have they asked you about your comments? What do you say to them?
By the way, they think we have a bigger problem than we do. Okay? They think we have a bigger problem because there's a radical Islamic group of people that is brutal. And unless our country gets tough and smart, and unless we have the right leadership done, we're in big trouble.
We all ask ourselves the question, not just as a Jewish person, not just as a Christian, not just as an American. What is it about us that they hate us, that they have been indoctrinated through a lens looking at us, the free people who are living in the land of the free, who we get to think on our own, practice our own with free speech and free will, to be hated, not just hated, to be despised, not just to be despised, to deserve eradication and annihilation. So we must sit back and ask ourselves the question, and I think this is what Mr. Trump was saying. The idea of why do they hate us so much? What is the underlying hate? Why is there such animosity? It's absurd to not just hate a group of people, but everyone. So one must go back to the original question. What is it about the religion, the Islam religion, that cannot and is not willing to coexist with the Judeo-Christian religion? What is it that puts us at odds with each other? So many philosophical essays have been written about this. Many professors, many theologians have delved into this over centuries trying to figure out, why are we apart? Why are we so far apart? So much so that there has been so much death, terrorism from the Muslim onto us. What is it? Where did it come from? What's it all about? There is no real answer other than an observation. History is a journey. Life evolves. It begins with conception, then an embryo, then there's birth, then there's infancy, toddlerhood, childhood, teenagehood, adulthood, etc. The progression of life. A seed is planted, disintegrates, germinates. Only then does it begin to sprout. This is the journey of life. And the same is with the world. The world was created by God 5,768 years ago, according to the Jewish calendar. That's based on the book of Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then He created light and darkness. And the 6 days of creation. And then on the seventh day, He rested. And that is the day that we call Sabbath. But that was the beginning of the journey. On Friday, on the 6th day of creation, God formed and created Adam. The word Adam is from the Hebrew word of Adamah, which means earth. God created Adam from earth. Vayipach b'apav, God blew a breath of life into the nostrils of Adam. And Adam became alive. And the definition of blowing, that when you blow, you're blowing from your inside. You're taking your breath that's deep down and you blow it out. And that is what God did to Adam, that He blew into Adam a part of Himself. And that's what God has done with every single one of us. Every single one of us has a soul. Our soul is literally a part of God because God blew it into us. But then we began to grow. At first, Adam and Eve, they were naked, they weren't dressed. They saw the tree of life, the tree of knowledge, and humanity was beginning to develop at a very slow pace. Saturday night is when God revealed the gift of fire. Adam and Eve didn't know what fire was or that it even existed. God presented it to them on Saturday night. And interestingly, in the Jewish religion, every single Saturday night, we actually light a flame. And we say, thank you, God, for creating light. We're remembering the gift that God gave, the gift of fire. Imagine a world without the gift of fire. To have the ability to have fire in the world and light. But the world was very slowly maturing as it went through the centuries. It went through the trials and tribulations. At some point, God had to do a reset and had created the flood, and only Noah and his family were saved on the ark. And then life started over again, and that's where Abraham was born. And then eventually the Jewish nation was born. Noah's children spread throughout the world, and the rest of the world was populated. But it went through a journey to mature and learn from history. And until God gave the 10 Commandments, which was 2,448 years after creation, there was no law and order in the world. There was no real rhyme or reason for anything. And the world was living in chaos. Pagan worship was rampant. I mean, the world was chaotic. There was no law and order. There's no understanding, appreciation of personal space, of personal life. There's no appreciation of God, of spirituality, the purpose. Why are we living? What are we supposed to do in this world? It was just aimless and meaningless, purposeless. Comes the revelation on Mount Sinai. God descends from heaven unto earth. The very first time there's a fusion. God brings spirituality to this world, presents us with the 10 Commandments and the 5 books of Moses, and says, okay guys, from now on, we have a plan. From now on, there are guidelines. There are rules, regulations, there's appreciation, there's a judicial system, there's moral, there's ethics, there are codes to live by. We're not just going to live and die without anything going on in between. There's a purpose for our being. And that was the revelation at Mount Sinai, to teach mankind purpose of life and how to make it from the beginning to the end, purposely, meaningfully, and successfully, and remembering that we are all God's ambassadors to make this world a dwelling place for godliness. That is our journey. The world has matured from century to century to century to century. In the 7th century, in the 8th century, when Muslim began, the world was at a stage where murder was rampant. And I mean, you look at Judaism, the founders of Judaism, the cornerstone, the bedrock of Judaism was based on Abraham and Sarah. Abraham and Sarah, when they founded Judaism, they founded it with a hospitality center. They built a tent with 4 entrances, and they invited all strangers to come. They gave them food, they gave them water, they gave them provisions, they gave them a place to stay. Judaism was built on kindness. And we evolved to become a nation that our whole life is about goodness and kindness and generosity. As the Talmud says, the Jewish nation is unique, and that's probably why they hate us so much, because we're so different. Our DNA, we're compassionate people, we are bashful people, and we are generous people. These are 3 unique elements that's in the DNA of every single Jew. In contrast, look at the Muslim world. They began in the 7th century with Muhammad. He began his leadership and his spiritual odyssey with death, killing, murdering by the hundreds, by the thousands, his own wives. I mean, it's horrid when you see the history of that. So you have 2 religions. One religion is based on life, on goodness and kindness and generosity and compassion. And you have another religion that's based on death, on living for the afterlife instead of living for the life. And you wonder now, where do we go from here? This is perhaps the problem that we're facing today. The Judeo-Christian world matured. We moved from the 7th century to the 10th, to the 20th, to the 21st century. We are now living in the 21st century. Christians are not killing Jews anymore because we don't believe what they believe. They kill us because of anti-Semitism, those who choose to kill us. I personally, I'm a victim of anti-Semitism. On April 27, 2019, a young 19-year-old white supremacist Christian breached our synagogue with the AR-15, shot and killed Lori right in front of me as I was talking to her. Then he took aim to kill me, but I had children playing behind me, so I instinctively ran to bring the children to safety. But as I was leaving, he opened fire with 4 rounds. These 2 fingers were taken down with those bullets, but I survived. I came back up, and he was already, some members of the congregation chased him out. He surrendered. His phone call to the surrender to the 9/11 was, "I just killed Jews at a synagogue." That was his aim. So that's a rarity. But I survived the 2nd mass shooting in all of U.S. history. And I'm here today talking to you as a survivor who not a minute of the day doesn't go by that I don't suffer from what occurred that day. But it didn't define me, it refined me. But we move forward to the 21st century. The Muslims are stuck in the 7th century. That is the problem. They have not embraced the 21st century, the gifts that God has given us, the miracles that we're living. They can live in such prosperity, they can live in such peace, they could all be educated, get all the medical advances that we have. They could live as free people. No one is holding them back other than themselves. And that is what Mr. Trump is sharing in this interview and realizing that we have to wake up and know what we're dealing with. And we got to make sure that we keep America safe, that we keep our values safe here, and we don't allow us to be bullied into subversion, submission to Sharia law, God forbid, or any type of influences that's against everything we have stood for 250 years. There's no question in my mind, God will protect us from that, but we need to wake up, not be complacent and apathetic, but realize it's a real threat, and we got to do something about it now so it doesn't get any worse. God bless you. God loves you.